This is so true. The Black community absolutely still has trauma, especially from slavery. But there are solutions out there. I just finished reading this book, Breaking the Chains of Psychological Slavery by Dr. Naeem Akbar. It is so extremely powerful. I have the full review on my YouTube channel. However, I want to share 3 points that really stuck with me because there were some gems in this book. You might want to check it out. One of the biggest things that is hurting our community is, in general, we have an inferiority complex. This presents itself in the way that we don't like our natural hair, we don't like being dark-skinned, we don't really like our communities. And as much as we hate white supremacy, a lot of times we don't feel like we're good enough unless we're getting validated by that same system. And something else that he talks about that I think is extremely relevant, especially when you look at the amount of deaths that are happening in the rap industry, is how this inferiority complex could be a contributing factor to the homicide rate in our community. On page 15, he says, the disastrously high Black-on-Black homicide rate is in many ways indicative of fundamental disrespect for Black life growing out of this same sense of inferiority. It is a simple fact that people who love themselves seek to preserve their lives and not to destroy them. And if you're following me, you guys know I'm a champion for rebuilding the hood, as we call it, but really just predominantly Black communities that have been abandoned. And I think that same inferiority complex applies to how we leave those spaces, because if we really, really loved them, we would do everything we could to continue to build them up and not just leave at the first chance we get. Now, there are valid reasons for that. He also gives several solutions, and who doesn't love solutions, right? But in this quick little short video, I only want to talk about 2 of them. One of the ones that he points out is how important it is for us to celebrate ourselves. Not only is it important for us to build up our self-esteem, but also as humans, period, no matter what race we are slaves to pleasure. So whenever we can make something a fun, enjoyable experience, we're more likely to have a lasting impact on our community. On page 39, he says, it is through self-celebration that we heal our damaged self-esteem. And then he also goes on to say, in fact, any culture which does not make its adherents feel good about themselves is a failure as a culture. And if you look at our culture, right, there has been a shift lately in recent years. We're starting to embrace our natural hair, embrace HBCUs, embrace our melanin. Largely, there are still a lot of people who don't think, we are beautiful as is, or our spaces are beautiful as is. And so that trend towards us accepting ourselves in the mainstream culture is going to have a huge impact on our community, breaking some of those psychological chains. And another solution he recommends, and my last point in this video, is how we need to embrace unity through uniqueness. A lot of times when we talk about coming together, we kind of try to gaslight people who think differently or may have a different opinion. We don't all have to like the same things. We don't have to look or talk or dress the same way. We just have to all have the same mission. On page 43, one thing he says is, there are unique talents and qualities which we all have. In the process of liberation, it is important to recognize that unity does not require uniformity. I absolutely agree that there is still a lot of trauma in our communities. In fact, if you read this book or check out the book review on my YouTube channel, you will see that there are probably a lot more things that factor into our community from psychological trauma than we even think about on a day-to-day basis. And the relationship that we have between men and women in our community, between parents and children in our community, it's very, very deep. But there are some solutions, and a couple are to celebrate ourselves, embrace ourselves, and embrace the uniqueness that we all have.